From O'Hara to Lulusia to Egghead Island, One Piece keeps showing us the same pattern. Entire nations erased, truth buried, and history rewritten. And somehow, none of it felt obvious at first. That is exactly why the world government is one of the most unsettling dystopias in fiction. Most dystopian stories make the problem clear immediately. Either the citizens know the system is evil, or the audience sees the truth long before the characters do. One Piece chooses a far more dangerous approach. For hundreds of chapters, neither the characters nor the reader fully realize they are living in a dystopia at all. Instead, the story disguises itself as a light-hearted adventure. Pirates sailing the seas, discovering strange islands, chasing freedom. And because the truth is revealed so slowly, the world government ends up feeling terrifyingly realistic. Early on, the world government does not appear evil. It looks functional. Nations are united under a single authority. The Marines exist to protect civilians from pirates. On the surface, nothing feels wrong. Yes, we meet corrupt individuals, a brutal Marine here, a selfish king there. But the story frames them as exceptions. For every abusive officer, we see honorable Marines like Smoker, Tashigi, and Kobe. People who genuinely believe they are doing the right thing. Even the kings feel balanced. Wapol is cruel, but King Cobra is kind and selfless. The message seems clear. The system itself is fine. There are just a few bad people inside it. But that assumption is the lie holding the world together. The first real warning sign does not come from violence or tyranny. It comes from something quiet. At the end of Alabasta, the world government makes a simple decision. They give Smoker credit for saving the country, not the Straw Hat pirates. No one dies because of this lie. No one is punished. It feels harmless. But in hindsight, it explains everything. Because the world government did not just win a battle, they controlled the story. That is their greatest power. If a government controls the narrative, it controls reality itself. It decides who the heroes are and who the villains must be. Pirates become criminals, scholars become terrorists. Entire islands become threats simply for asking the wrong questions. Once someone is labeled an enemy, anything becomes justified. Erasing an island becomes an act of justice. Rewriting history becomes an act of peace. Genocide becomes necessary for stability. This is why Enies lobby changes everything. Because for the first time, we see what the world government is willing to do when its version of history is threatened. And suddenly, O'Hara makes sense. Here is the most unsettling part. The Marines are not filled with monsters. They are filled with believers. They are taught that the institution itself represents justice. And if the institution is just, then anything done in its name must also be just. That logic removes personal responsibility. A Marine does not ask whether an order is right or wrong. They ask whether it came from authority. Smoker believes pirates are evil because the world told him so. Aokiji destroyed O'Hara believing he was eliminating terrorists. They are not heartless. They are obedient. And obedience paired with certainty is how atrocities happen. This brings us to One Piece's true message about freedom, which is often misunderstood. The story is not telling you to live like Luffy and break every rule. That kind of freedom only works in fiction. The real message is much simpler and much harder. Think for yourself. Luffy does not follow labels. If the world calls someone a demon, he decides on his own whether that is true. The entire world can call Robin a criminal, but Luffy will fight the world itself to uncover the truth. Island after island, the Straw Hats expose the same pattern. The official story is almost always a lie, and freedom means refusing to accept someone else's judgment as fact. When One Piece says to think like a pirate, it does not mean rejecting society. It means rejecting blind belief. No authority, not a government, not a king, not even a god, is right just because they claim to be. True freedom is moral independence, the courage to question, the willingness to seek truth even when the world tells you not to. That is why the world government had to hide its nature for so long. Because the moment people begin thinking for themselves, the lie collapses. That is what makes One Piece's dystopia so powerful. Not how evil it is, but how believable it feels. So what do you think is the most disturbing aspect of the world government?